Hey, it's Tom
and Mike
from Take Time to Travel.
We took a scenic train ride from Karlstad, Sweden over to Oslo, Norway for a wonderful day trip to wander around and explore the historic and quite modern capital city. And of course, we tried some delicious Norwegian food.
We began our adventure at the Oslo Central Station and made our way around the corner to this lovely square where we crossed over the road to the main street in Oslo called Karl Johans Gate, which is lined with beautiful old buildings.
Then we walked over towards a food hall for lunch, and on the way, we stumbled across this intriguing looking market. But we were pretty hungry, so we kept going past a mix of old and new Scandinavian architecture and over to the food hall called Mathallen Oslo, located in this charming brick building. Let's head in and show you what it's like.
Inside, there are more than 30 specialty eateries, cafes, and stores to choose from, with a central dining area in the middle. It had a vibrant and bustling atmosphere when we went. We wandered around a little bit and browsed all of the different appetizing foods and cheeses, as well as desserts that were on offer, and finally decided on Barramon Mathallen. Here you can sit at the bar or one of the communal tables and eat scrumptious traditional Spanish pinchos tapas.
We placed our order and found a table in the main dining area, right beside Barramon. We chose an assortment of tapas, including cod, wild shrimp and artichoke, tenderloin, baked mushroom and caramelized onion, duck confit, slow-roasted pork neck, and a burger. They all had a delicious mixture of flavors. However, our favorites were the cod, the duck, and the pork neck. We'd highly recommend Barramon. Then it was time for dessert at Cupcake and Pie Co. They had a mouth-watering variety of donuts, cupcakes, tarts, pies, and pastries on display. Tom decided on the pistachio cream donut, which is a deep-fried brioche donut filled with pistachio cream and covered with pistachio and caramelized white chocolate. And I went for a vanilla cinnamon roll for my choice. The sweet treats looked and sounded so good, but they only tasted just okay. The pistachio cream filling certainly helped though. After all of that food, it was time for us to get going. So we made our way outside and found the Aker River running right beside the market. It was quite surprising to see the rushing rapids right next to the buildings in downtown Oslo.
Next, we took an Uber over to the Aker Brygge neighborhood, which had attractive restaurants and patios situated in the many buildings along the waterfront promenade. As we walked further along, we saw some marinas, lots of inviting floating saunas, as well as picturesque bridges crossing over canals, surrounded by luxurious modern apartment buildings with contemporary sculptures and artwork like this moose made out of motorcycle parts. At the far end, there's a museum of modern art and a nice area to relax and take a dip in the inner Oslo fjord. But let's make our way back along the waterfront to find a place for a drink.
We ended up walking about 15 minutes over to this restaurant called LiQWYD, which had a lovely covered patio with a delightful view of a picturesque square on Karl Johans Gate. We ordered a couple of Hansa draft beers to drink. They weren't cheap, but they certainly hit the spot nicely since we'd been on the move all morning. After we finished that refreshing beverage, the cloudy and rainy skies started to clear up, so we wandered over to the square, which had some super high-end stores, classic architecture, a cool Freya sign, and even a popular Swedish burger chain.
Strolling a little bit further, we found the designer shopping street called Nedre Slottsgata. Although, since it was Sunday, all of the shops were closed, which I guess is normal in Oslo. So we made our way back to Karl Johans Gate and retraced our steps past this charming little square to continue exploring this special Scandinavian city. Just around the corner is the mid-19th century Stortinget, which is home of the Norwegian Parliament, as well as the impressive Grand Hotel Oslo. As we walked further along the street, we saw more beautiful buildings with some inviting restaurants and patios facing the park. While visiting Oslo, you definitely have to check out Karl Johans Gate.
Across the road is another gorgeous 19th century structure, the National Theatre, where there were some lovely manicured gardens running along its length, as well as this unique looking fountain. And a bit past the theatre, at the end of Karl Johans Gate, is the Norwegian Royal Palace, where you can wander around this pretty little park called Slottsparken, which surrounds the palace and is free to enter and explore.
With all of that walking, we worked up an appetite, so we decided to head over to the nearby traditional Norwegian restaurant called LiQWYD, where they specialize in hearty pork dishes. Let's make our way in and show you what it's like. We followed the hostess over to our table in their rustic and quirky dining room and started with a couple of Grisensbayer beers for each of us to drink.
Then I decided on this massive slow-grilled pork knuckle that came with mashed potatoes, rustic vegetables, and mustard sauce. And Tom chose this huge pork schnitzel with butter-fried green peas, tartar sauce, and potatoes. The pork schnitzel tasted absolutely incredible. Same with the pork knuckle. We still can't believe how big of a portion it was. But there's more to see, so let's keep exploring. We walked about 20 minutes to the far side of Karl Johans Gate, past some more wonderful buildings and architecture, and the Oslo Central Station, over to the Havne Promenade, across from the iconic Oslo Opera House.
As we wandered along the waterfront trail, we saw lots of different floating saunas in the inner fjord that had some spectacular views across the harbor. We also saw this interesting looking market that we would have checked out if we had more time, but instead we decided to go over towards the opera house. So we walked back past all of the saunas and onto the publicly accessible roof of the Oslo Opera House, which has a striking iceberg design and is home of the Norwegian National Opera and Ballet.
Continuing around the side of the building, there's the Munch Museum and the Opera Beach, which has a small sandy beach along the shore, as well as a giant lit-up Ferris wheel. But it's time for us to head back to the Oslo Central Station, so that we can catch our train back to Karlstad, Sweden, which we'll be showing you in our next video. Well, we hope you enjoyed our fun-filled day trip to Oslo, Norway. If you did, please like and subscribe, and check out our weekend in Stockholm, Sweden video. And remember, take time to travel. Catch you on the next one.